God gave us all a vision. He gave us a vision on motherhood. He gave us a vision on our careers. I said yes to everything, and I was never fulfilled. She told me, I don't pay you just to sit around. So I don't know what you're doing, but you need to get to work.
For those who are like, well, how do I know what my vision is?
One thing that I would say to those individuals is,
Today's verse of the day is, where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Proverbs 29, verse 18.
Hello, welcome to the Busy Moms Get It Done podcast, where we encourage moms that want to follow their motherly instinct and their passions. I am your host, Esther Shittu, journalist and mom of 3. This week's guest is Latika Vines. She has worked with the federal government for the past 15 years, and for the past 6 years, she has worked to help coach working moms through the visionary initiatives. She's also the host of the Empowering Working Mom podcast, which just celebrated 5 years. Congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast.
thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
So I like to ask my guests the same questions every single beginning, just to think back a little bit and think about your childhood, right? When you were a child and when we were all playing with dolls and all, if you did play with dolls, how did you envision motherhood to be? Did you think of motherhood? Were you like, oh, that's not for me? Or did you think, I can't wait to be a mom?
Oh my goodness, such a loaded question. So, I was raised with by a single mom of 5, and she, on the outside looking in, she was an incredible mom. Incredible mom. Of course, being younger, I thought she was so mean and so rude, and didn't let me do anything. But my mother protected me and my brothers and sisters from all hurt, harm, and danger as much as she could. And I truly appreciated her for that. And I said, I do want to be like her. I do want to be the school teacher and be with my kids, during the summer and all the breaks, and have fun and, do all the adventures that she did with us. So I always was like, I'm going to be like my mother. And, just the fact that she, I remember her having Bible studies with us and just, really trying to teach us things. And so I said, you know what, when I have kids, I'm gonna be just like my mother.
That's nice. That's nice. I hear there's some opposite view of that, especially when you're young, and some people are like, "Oh, my mom is mean."
Yes.
And I had a strict mom too, but for some reason, I'm like, I want to be even stricter.
Yes, right.
I was like, I'm going to be even stricter. My parents are not doing that for me. They need more strictness in their lives. So I had the same. View. But did you also you thought about teaching? But was that really the career path you pursued as you grew older, or was there another career path that you pursued?
So funny. I did not become a school teacher, but I went into training adults. And so my entire career has been facilitating training, developing training, leadership training, IT training, career development. So I have traveled all over the world in facilitating training. So I kind of went into that, into education, but more so for adults. So you can kind of say I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. What was your journey into motherhood like, though, when you did finally decide to become a mother?
Oh man, when I had my first daughter, I was 20. I was 20 when I had my first daughter, and it was such an amazing experience. She brought so much joy to my life. And it just, I can't really explain it. It was just so incredible that I brought this human being into this world, and I got to watch her grow and, I can remember her being a baby, and I'm having full-fledged conversations with an infant as though she's like 25 and she's talking back to me. It was just so beautiful with her, and I cherish those memories with her. Unfortunately, she passed away from sudden infant death syndrome when she was 7 months and 29 days old. But I got to carry those memories with her. So when I had my subsequent 4 children, I looked forward to those same memories that I had with Victoria, I could now do with them. And so just, it's a beautiful experience. It really, really is. I mean, just to watch these little human beings that were in your stomach, that were kicking you, that were all up in your ribs and your lungs and causing you not to breathe or walk or eat. And now they're human beings with their own personalities and their own likes and dislikes and their own, opinions and thoughts. It's like, wow, you were in me. You're a part of me, So it's really an amazing experience with them. And like you, I have multiple children, so every single one of them have a different personality. Every single one of them. So it's truly a beautiful, beautiful experience.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, but
Thank you.
I have to agree that, like, I look at my first daughter, who's also, like, her middle name is Victoria, coincidentally.
Oh.
And I think, like, she's 4 right now, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, who could have imagined that, like, when you were little, you were so little, and
Yes.
like, the person you become, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's just how great God is,
Yes.
like being able to input words, and now you're thinking and you're reasoning, and before you were just like such a tiny baby that was like a seed in my womb, and now and has grown. So I think about those thoughts as well, right? You now have obviously you have 4 other children. In what way did having the children and your career lead you to create your program that you created?
Yeah, so when I had my youngest daughter, it was tough. I can't even lie. Because here I am working in a big city and commuting to the suburbs, commute 2, 3, 4 hours a day. I didn't know how I was going to make it, honestly. It was so hard, and I had no idea that I was suffering from postpartum depression. And when I was finally diagnosed with it, I had an amazing doctor that said, you know what, Latika, you need to take some time off, you need to seek therapy, and you need to get your life together. Those were her words. And I did that. And I took the time off. I went to therapy. I got a therapist, I got a mentor, and I got a coach, all at the same time. And what I realized was, okay, I was doing everything all at once. I'm going up the career ladder. Mind you, I already had 3 kids, and I'm going up the career ladder. And then I'm pregnant, and then I give birth to this baby, and I'm looking at the baby, and reality hit. Oh my goodness, I gotta go back to work. I have to, make sure the other kids are straight. I have to, so my mind is racing. And in that diagnosis of postpartum depression, I realized that I said yes to everything, and I was never fulfilled. I said yes to everyone, but no one said yes to me. And I had to scale back. Once I got myself together, literally, it was so clear. God said, okay, now that you have yourself together, now you need to go help other moms get themselves together. And it allowed me to realize that as much as I was going to church, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Esther, I was a ministry leader of 6 ministries. Okay, my husband being a deacon, and I still have these kids.
That's a
Right?
lot.
Yeah, and I'm working full time. Right? So
Wow.
I'm doing all these things, and mind you, as a ministry leader, you have to prepare before you get to church. So you're doing work at night when the kids are going to sleep, when your husband's asleep. So my mind is always racing, right? And what I realized is that I did not have God in the center of it. As much as I was going to church and doing the right things, and the director of the youth ministry, the director of the youth Sunday school, the director of the youth children's church, I did not have God in the center of anything I was doing. I never referenced him for anything. Nothing. I did not rely on God. I did not trust God in anything. And what I realize is that so many of us are doing the same thing. We're playing. We're out here playing. We're out here with this facade of, oh yes, I am holier than thou. I am highly favored. But yet, when stuff happens, what do? We try to control our narrative. We try to control what's going to happen, what's about to happen, what will happen. We're trying to put ourselves in the middle of it when God says, no, I am your provider. I am your protector. I am your visionary. I am your strength. So if he's all of those things, then why am I trying to fix it all? And so once I realized that I was not in alignment, I got myself in alignment, but I also heard God clearly say, you got to go help those other ones be in alignment with my word, because God gave us all a vision. He gave us a vision on motherhood. He gave us a vision on our careers. He gave us a vision for our marriages, but we're not going back to him. We're not referencing him. We're not saying, God, is this what I heard you say? Am I doing it right? God, give me your eyes so that I can see what it is that you want me to do. And so I developed the Empowering the Working Mom coaching program to help those moms to realize that God has to be in the center. In order for us to be fulfilled, God has to be in the center. God is going to give us balance. God is going to give us balance, but we have to use the principles and the strategies from him to be able to have the balance that he's already designed for us. And so in that coaching program, I help you to understand what strategies that God has already given you. He's already laid it out for you, but you haven't taken it. And so in this program, I help you to lay it out. We create the plan for you to do it. I give you the accountability, the tools, all the things to help you do it so you can have the career, you can have the balance, you can be fulfilled, but most importantly, you have him in the center of everything.
I honestly, as you were speaking, and I have to say, like, I resonated so much with what you're saying because, like, I know what it's like to just want to go, 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 go. Like, saying yes to everyone and having no one say yes to you, like, that is so real. And I wonder, do you think that perhaps because of the way God has created us as women and as mothers, sometimes we feel like we have to quote and unquote be the yes men? Right? And so we don't want to disappoint anyone, so we have to do it all. Do you think that is how it's just natural?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
I really don't think so because, we know that we're nurturing. We know that, God gave us that to be nurturing. It's innate. It's natural for us to be nurturing. But honestly, God already set the strategy for us in the 7 days of the work week. He gave us the strategy. And he's like, go ahead, do what you need to do. But on the 7th day, you need to rest. And when you think about heaven, when God created the world, he created everything. When he realized that Satan was trying to beat him, what did he do? He kicked them out. God already laid out the strategies for us. It's in the Bible. He laid it out for us. And so if God kicked Satan out because Satan was trying to be God, why are we allowing other things and other people to be our God? And that's something I had to realize. Like, friendships were my God. Money was my God. Social media was my God. I got to kick these things out. And once I kick these things out, now I have the time. Now I can have the freedom to spend time with my children, my husband. But it took looking at the strategies of the Bible like, oh, okay, God, I see you. All right, I need to do the same thing. So to go back to your question, God didn't design us to take everything in, because He's omnipresent. He's omnipotent. He takes everything in because the word tells us that when we release our burdens to Him, He makes our load light. So He didn't tell us to take everything in. We, myself included, said, no, I have to do this. I have to do this. But really, we don't have to do anything. Because sometimes what happens is we play God for other people. And God doesn't like that. Because in His word, His commandments, He said, don't put any other gods before me. Well, we're putting ourselves before God by saying yes to everybody else and everything else. We have to understand that we're not God. That's God's load to carry, not ours. So if somebody's coming to us and saying, can you do this? No. Can you? No. No. I don't have the budget for that. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the capacity for that. Because we're not God. God didn't create us to do that. God created us to be fruitful, to multiply, to have dominion and authority of the things of the earth. God gave us direction on what to do. But we weren't supposed to take everything in. That's not our job. That's His job.
I like that. Do you think that the women that come to you, that you coach, have they already reached that breaking point? Or how did that reach that breaking point to say, okay, I need help?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Postpartum depression. Sickness. For me, it was really bad sinus infection. They're exhausted. They feel like there is no coming back from this. They can't escape from this hold or this trap that they're in. They feel stuck. So yes, they're at a point where if they don't do anything, they're going to explode. And a lot of them have already exploded. So oh yeah, they're at their breaking point.
And to those women, I guess you would say that it's not, because one of my questions that I was going to ask at the end, but I think I can bring it up now, is can women balance it all, or can women have it all? Is your advice to them that you kind of have to let go of some things in order to have the things in order to move to your God's-given purpose?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we do in our coaching practice is really understand what your vision is. What is it that God laid out for you? And we get down to what are the promises that God gave you? Have you been in alignment with that? Because if you do not, it's just like, so I'm old school. I'm still a little stuck in the 80s and 90s. But if you don't have an address, you can't pull out that map and figure out where you're going. You can't. And so with that, now we have the GPS. Well, all you got to do is put in the address, and the GPS tells you what street to go down, what detour is here, what red light camera is here, all the details you need to get to your destination. But if you don't have a map for your life, where are you going? Because when you look at a map, you see so many side roads. You see hills and mountains and lakes and rivers. You see so many different places that you can go. And oftentimes, we take those side roads because we think that's the best way for us. But God is saying, I have a destination for you. I have an address, and that is the vision that I have given you. Why won't you take the map that I gave you and go there? And so many of us, we don't have that map. And so I work with the moms on how to understand your vision, how to understand what that map is, that address, and then how to get there, knowing that even though there's these side roads, which are the jobs, the side hustles, the friends, all the things, even though it's all these things and the things that we want to say yes to, that's not our street to go down. That's not our lane to go down. We're not supposed to dip our feet in that river. And so we have to stay straight on the direction that God has given us. And so many of us, we pick up strangers. We pick up hitchhikers. We do it all the time. And those strangers and those hitchhikers are those side hustles that we're not supposed to be in. Are the friendships that we're not supposed to be in. Because those friendships, we're playing God with. We're God to those people. Or they're our God. Because we do everything to them. We say yes to them and all the things. And then we don't have time for the things that really matter. And so it's us making sure that we are focused on that vision. And so that when we pull out that map, we know exactly where we're going. And we understand, I can't do this. I can't do this because this is where I'm supposed to be. And that's where the balance comes in. That you are so focused and so intentional on what you are doing and where you're going that you're not going to have time for the yes over here and the yes over here, or feel guilty for saying no to others, but it's that vision. And when you understand your vision, you understand what you have room for, and you truly can gain the balance that you are destined to have. And again, 8 years ago, I was in that spot where God gave me a map, but I was taking the hitchhikers. And I was picking up the strangers. And I was saying yes to people. And I was getting into environments where I would go help other people, but I didn't have the energy in my own home to clean, to do laundry, to do other things, because I was playing God and they were my God. And so I didn't have balance. Having 6 ministries and being a leader of those, because someone said, oh, I like your leadership skills, or you're so strategic, I think you should take this ministry. Okay, sure, I can do that, knowing I have 3 kids and I'm pregnant, knowing that I work full time. I have all these things, but yet I said yes because somebody was like, I think this is a really good idea. But that wasn't in alignment with what God wanted me to do. Does God want me to work in His kingdom? Absolutely. But to have 6 ministries and be leading over them? No, that's not what God wanted me to do. But I said yes. And then I'm stuck because nobody is helping me, but I'm helping everybody else. So really helping the moms that I work with to understand that they have a vision. God gave them a vision. They got to take that map out. And sometimes you got to keep that map in front of you because distractions are going to come every which way to tell you go down the street, take this exit. No, you got to go this highway because this highway is faster to get to what you need to go to. No, stick to this so that you can have the balance and you can have the peace. You can have the peace and the fulfillment and the joy and the freedom to do all the things, the work and the life.
I wonder, you and I are obviously Christians, so For us, it makes sense to be like, okay, go to God, tell God, God, please give me that vision. But for those who are like, well, how do I know what my vision is? Like, what are your advice to those people?
Such a great question. Such a great question. One thing that I would say to those individuals is, where do you find your peace? Where do you find your peace? What gives you fulfillment? What gives you fulfillment? What gives you joy? When you look out at your life, and one thing, again, I'm old school and I tell people I am stuck. I have dual citizenship from the 1980s and the 1990s. I'm still stuck. But when you take out your piece of paper, right, you have a piece of paper and you write down all the things that you have to do and all the things that you want to do, what brings you peace? What brings you fulfillment? All the things that you're doing right now, do they bring you peace? When you're going to work and then having to come back and taking the kids here and there, and you're exhausted by the time you get home, but then you got to prepare lunch for the next day and then get up and start over again and do it. Is that job bringing you peace? Is your schedule bringing you peace? What is bringing you fulfillment? What are you doing for yourself to rest? Really asking yourself the question, what is bringing me peace? Because so many times we accept things because it's a good idea in the moment. And that's anything, job, anything. But is it bringing you peace? And so really sitting down with yourself, and that takes a lot of vulnerability, and Michael Todd calls it being hot, being honest, open, and transparent. And you gotta be hot with yourself. What brings me peace? Am I happy? Sometimes we gotta ask ourselves those questions. Am I happy? Am I happy with the decisions that I made? And then, if not, what can I do to be happy, to change the situation, but reminding yourself that you have the permission to do so. You have the permission. So if that's going to therapy, if that's, finding a support group like a mom's group, where you have others like you who can, say, yeah, I've been there, done that. Let me tell you what I did. That's what you would need to really help you to identify what brings you peace. How can I balance all the things that I have? So your podcast, you have an opportunity to share with others that may not have that community, that may be isolated, so listening to you is also a great way to understand and ask yourself that question. Do I have peace? Is this bringing me fulfillment? Am I happy? What can I change? I would definitely encourage you to be hot with yourself and ask these questions.
I agree. I think that sometimes we do say yes to things in the moment of like the heat of the moment. I can do this, like I'm definitely great to be to help you go get that, but we don't really think and reflect, and we feel like we can't say, can you give me a couple days just to think about that before I give you an answer, because our world is just moving so fast that we can be like, well, let me think about it, and let me think if I can really say yes to this. And so I definitely agree with that sentiment for sure. My next question is, like, obviously we're talking about some moms in the workplace. What would you say are some of the challenges working moms face in the workforce that keeps them from fully achieving their potential?
Family.
Really?
Yeah. So many feel like I can't do anything because I have a young family at home. I can't do that because I have an infant. And what's interesting is I had someone say, oh, you can't be a leader because you have kids. Oh, you'd be surprised what people say. Like, people just say stuff. But family, whether it's the guilty conscience of, I'm not able to do that because I gotta leave here at 3 o'clock to go get my kids off the bus, or it's a 2-hour commute, so if I leave at 3, I'll be able to be there at daycare by 5 to pick them up. Or on the other side, leaders saying, well, your priority is your family. Your priority is not here. So we can't prioritize you in promoting you. So family is a big thing. It's a big thing. And in that topic of family, having flexibility of schedule. Because if I have to take my kids to a doctor's appointment, are you going to allow me to take an hour from my lunch break to go to a doctor's appointment? Are you going to allow me to be a remote worker or a teleworker so that I can be here with my family? So I can do both. Family is a huge thing for many, many working moms. And then you also have the guilt. The guilt that if I do this, then I'm not going to be able to spend time with my family. If I take this job that I have to travel 50% of the time, I'm not going to see my kids grow up. Family is a huge thing for so many working moms. The other thing I would say is that many of us deal with imposter syndrome. We deal with imposter syndrome because we have our counterparts or the colleagues who may not have any kids. They can go to the networking happy hours. They can stay late and work on certain projects. And so when we're not able to, or when we feel like because I have kids, I can't do that, then imposter syndrome comes in. And we're not speaking up in meetings. We're not showcasing our skills, sending proposals for certain projects, or raising our hands for certain projects because I'm not supposed to be in the room. I have a family, so I can't do that. Or the thing that I said to myself, my husband is going up the ladder and both of us cannot go up the career ladder at the same time when we have kids. And so imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome keeps us from ourselves. Guilt keeps us from ourselves. Fear. How will I be as a leader? How? Because other people have said things about me and how I may, come off too aggressive, or I'm too assertive, or, things like that. So if I'm a leader, I might be assertive. I might be too aggressive. They may not like me. And the list goes on and on and on and on. But those are some big things that cause challenges in the workforce for working moms.
I like what you said about imposter syndrome and the guilt because I feel those all the time. Especially because I work remotely and my kids are always here. And so people are always hear my kids all the time. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I feel so much guilt. And if I can't do things, I'm like, oh, it's because I have kids. If I don't have kids, I'm not going to be able to do it faster. And so I work harder because I'm like, I have kids. I have to prove that I can do it more than if I did not have kids. And so I think I agree that we are always working hard because we want to prove that we are deserving of the job because we are moms. I want to get a little bit into how would you say you discovered yourself and your ambition as a mom or as a working mom?
Honestly, I went on a walk one day and I am crying to God, like, God, I know you see everything that's happening. Like, my life is turned upside down. Like, that was my conversation with God. And he very plainly said, I'm your visionary, so what you complaining about? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? But it was real. I'm your visionary. And so if he's my visionary, why am I putting blame on other people that I don't have the things that I desired? Because I was sitting there like, well, it's his fault. It's my husband's fault that I don't have this. No. God said, no, that has nothing to do with your husband. That has everything to do with you. What are you doing to live up to the vision that I placed on your life? And I was like, oh, okay. It's not his fault. I'm blaming the fact that I have kids, that I can't be prosperous in my career. Stop blaming people. And that's what God told me. I'm your visionary. I told you what to do. If I ordered your steps, follow it. And it was in that moment, on that walk, that I realized, you're right, God. Okay, let me do it. And so that really allowed me to understand that I do have a plan. I have that map. I need to follow it. And I know that therapy is a topic that we don't always discuss, but I went to therapy. And I actually still go to therapy, but my therapist gave me the strategies that I needed to take what God gave me, put it down on paper, and hold me accountable to do that. And that is how I was able to say, okay, when I introduce myself to people, I am Latika, the people and culture developer, not I am Latika. I am his wife. I am their mother. I'm the manager of my home. All the things that we say when we introduce ourselves to someone. I'm a mom and I got X amount of kids. I had to understand who I am. And in that process. So yeah, it was on that walk.
I wonder how your podcast fit into all of this. Like, what was your process of developing the podcast and including it as part of your vision?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. So I'm going to be honest with you. I knew that God told me to do the podcast. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea. I knew that I was going to talk about work-life balance. I knew I was going to talk about career. I knew that. But I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I started the podcast, had a vision. COVID happened. And God said, you got to keep on going. Because you still got to talk about work-life balance. But just in a different way. Because now, moms are home with their children as they're working full-time and also homeschooling their children. The whole entire family is sitting at the dining room table working. So how do you balance that? How do you manage that? So I had to make sure that I was always in alignment with what God wanted. And I'm going to be honest, when I started out, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. And so I thought I was doing it. I was doing it right. But what I realized is that God gives us the vision. He gives us the vision. A lot of times he doesn't give us the step-by-step how, but he gives us the vision. And I just was obedient in the vision. And so I did it. I did the vision. And 3 years into the vision, it dropped like, it was such an epiphany for me. The show, the podcast was initially called the Latika Vines Show. Because I didn't know, again, I'm just following the vision that God gave me. But 2 years ago, it clearly came. Changed the podcast name to Empowering the Working Mom Podcast. Changed the coaching to this. This is what you're going to do. And when I say everything was written, everything was written. But I had to follow the vision. Everything else came. The clarity, everything else came. But I had to follow the vision. And once I followed the vision and then received the clarity, everything has been in alignment. But it was me being obedient to the vision that allowed me to have the clarity that now we can go on and on and on and on and on in the podcast. And so, yeah, that vision was so powerful.
I think what I'm hearing you saying is like sometimes we do have the vision and we're like, but how is this going to happen? And what you're saying is just get started on like the first thing. And you know what? It might not happen year 1, year 2, it might be year 3, it might be year 5. But as long as you're walking where God has asked you to walk and where He has placed you, you just have to keep going back to God and trusting that it will all just
Absolutely.
come back together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very powerful. Um,
Absolutely.
So as we're wrapping up, I wanted to ask, and I want to respect your time. I also want to ask, like, what sacrifices would you say that you made with motherhood for your career to exist, or that you felt like you made with your career for you to be the kind of mom that you wanted to be?
Absolutely. Um, so I will tell you that I thought I was making sacrifices by accepting jobs that will allow me to telework. And at the end of the day, those jobs did not serve me at all. I was in jobs that I remember one job, I was in there for only 9 months. It didn't serve me. I just took the job because they offered telework. But I didn't get any support. The leadership was not leading. It was not good. But I thought I was sacrificing going up the career ladder because I was taking these jobs that allowed the flexibility that allowed me to telework. That wasn't a sacrifice. That was me working on my own so that I could have the telework to be with my family. To be honest, I didn't make any sacrifices for my family in the job. I made some decisions that made life harder for me. I made decisions in accepting positions that the leadership did not support me as a working mom because I just went there because they were teleworking. I had a leader tell me in my dream job, mind you, my dream job, and I had my second daughter at that particular time. She told me, I don't pay you just to sit around. So I don't know what you're doing, but you need to get to work. And you know what I was doing? I was going to the lactation room pumping because I was still nursing. So I was taking jobs because I thought that was the right thing to do, and I thought, oh, if I do this, that's under sacrifice for my family. But I wasn't. I was causing myself more harm than good. So I would say I didn't make any sacrifices in my career. I would say the only thing I did do was not wait on God. I did not wait on God. I did not trust that God would take care of me, that whatever position that I was going to, it would allow me to have the flexibility that I need. And I'm going to be honest, even though the things that are going on in the world today, the job that I have is a dream job. I have everything that I need because I waited on God. I waited on God. I have the support of my leadership. And not just my immediate leadership. I have the support of the number 1 and 2 of the entire agency. Because I waited. I waited. And so if I can leave anything with your listeners, I would just encourage them to be obedient, not to sacrifice, but to be obedient to that vision. And by me being obedient, Esther, I have everything that I need right now.
That's such an awesome way to end this. It's awesome. I have everything I need because I waited and I was obedient. I love that. I definitely love that. And you made me realize something. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Latika. How can people get in touch with you? How can they find you? How can they reach out if they want to get to know more?
Absolutely. Well, you can go to empoweringtheworkingmom.com and download our mini book to kind of just give you some tips on how to be an empowered working mom. And also, you can follow me on social media at Visionary Initiatives, anywhere on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere, Google. Definitely feel free to look at me at Visionary Initiatives anywhere.
But thank you so much, Latika, for joining us on today's podcast. And thank you to all our listeners. And we will see you next time. Bye.